When I started this channel, it was nothing more than a hobby. I expected a few hundred views and less than that in subscribers. Despite my first videos being about a new frontier, my passion for cut content has always been solely focused on Season 2. Just playing through the game led me to ask questions about bits and pieces of it. Why show Eddie on the Amid the Ruins slide if he doesn't show up? What about the whole Luke Kenny thing? Didn't it seem like there was going to be some kind of rivalry or showdown with those two? What happened to the town in episode 4? They hint at it all the way through the episode. It seemed blatantly obvious that that's where we were going to go. It's even in the menu's 5th slide. But yet again, it was nowhere to be found. What happened to these things? I'd always wondered ever since Season 2 ended. The few people that data mined over the years never found the answers to these questions. So eventually, I took it upon myself. It was really that spark that made me want to make videos in the first place. But now we're at that period where we've almost hit the end. Telltale is come and gone, Clementine's story has been wrapped up, and I'm afraid that there's only so much I can talk about before I run out of things to show you. Which is why this video series will be the last videos I make on the Walking Dead game's cut content. Unless by some chance an ex-Telltale employee stumbles upon this video and happens to have a hard drive full of never before seen stuff and is willing to show it off or talk to me about it, this is pretty much the end. This video series will feature things I've discovered throughout the years about the first 3 seasons. I'd like to thank my friend Ket, who was responsible for finding a good chunk of this stuff in these upcoming videos, and I'd also like to thank you, the viewer, for watching my videos and commenting. I don't think I ever would have bothered continuing to make videos if I didn't have people who wanted to see more. So, thanks for the support throughout the years. I hope you appreciate the effort that went into making them, and I hope that you'll stick around to see what else I have planned. Enjoy the video, and stay safe. For the past few years, I'd always get requests from people to show cut content from Season 1. Every time, I've given the same answer. The truth is, there really isn't a whole lot of cut content from Season 1 in the first place. It mainly comes down to the fact that Season 1, unlike the other seasons, was planned well, and they knew exactly how the story was going to begin and end. The story didn't change that significantly for them to create stuff that went unused. That's why there's really not a whole lot to show off or talk about. I do want to mention the discoveries made by Vivek though. He's an OG Telltale modder and was pretty much the guy that popularised Telltale modding and data mining. Without him, I don't think I ever would have made my videos. Anyway, Vivek found a bunch of unused, near complete scenes in the files for Season 1. There's a video out there that showcases all of them, so if you haven't seen it already, please watch that video first. It showcases some stuff that Telltale was going for, like the dream sequences that got dropped, and the different outcome for Mark and Mr. Parker. It's the only interesting unused content involving Season 1. But if I don't make some kind of Season 1 tribute, I'm sure I'll constantly get asked about it. So here's everything else there could possibly be to talk about when it comes to Season 1. In terms of stuff that we know exists, but also doesn't exist, is the Morgue. The Morgue was a map that Telltale built just to test how a Walking Dead game would play. Despite the map file not being present in the game files, what we do have are pretty much most, if not all, its textures. Telltale simply reused the textures for lots of different things in the game, and we know they're from the Morgue because a majority of them specifically mention Morgue in their file name. Environment artist Jonathan Banks, who worked on Season 1, actually posted renders of the map itself and describes it. The Morgue was the first production art created for the Walking Dead game. The environment helped define the visual art style and was used extensively during pre-production for prototyping gameplay. There is actually a morgue in the game, but as we know it looks nothing like this. As far as prototyping gameplay stuff is considered, what you might not know is that the game was supposed to be in first person, not the third person viewpoint that we're used to. You might not have noticed it, but there are actually quite a lot of first person segments in the first episode. Shotgunning the cop, fighting the babysitter, helping Carly with the radio, you get the point. The Walking Dead was supposed to be a first person game, not a third person one. The reason it ended up not happening is because Telltale management just said no. Everyone who played it in the office liked it, but management still said no. So it didn't happen. But we did end up with a few first person segments still in the game. In fact, I think 400 Days might be the last Walking Dead episode with a first person segment. Moving on, I also discovered something interesting a while back. The Underpass scene in episode 3 where the train stops and the group meets Omid and Krista was supposed to be a bit different. Once Omid cuts the tanker down, it was still supposed to be blocking the way. Originally you would cut it down and then use a hook truck that was stationed nearby. There isn't a hook truck in this scene at all, but it is actually used at the start of the episode. I'm not sure if it was repurposed for this scene, or if it always existed in the beginning, and there was supposed to be another hook scene. Either way, there's mention of this in the game's D-log file. Once the tanker is cut loose, the train station is the only place left to go, as it has the S-hook, which you need to attach to the tanker, to the train, and pull it down and out of the way. So it looks like the scene where Lee and Omid go for it was added later.
Jump!
No!
Jump, damn it!
Still no!
Fine. Ugh.
A good change, I think. One last thing to mention is that for some reason this scene has a concept art at night. I have no idea why. Speaking of concept art, one of the original promo images of The Walking Dead is this one. We can clearly see a weird looking Clementine and Lee, but if you look in the back, you'll notice that the motel room that Irene was staying at is not burnt. In the final game, for whatever reason, that whole place is torched and burnt. Yet in the concept art it's not. Again, no clue why they made this change, but worth pointing out, I guess. For whatever reason, episode 2 of season 1 seems to be an archive that contains a lot of older stuff. It's why Vivek was able to show you the dream sequences and other scenes that weren't in the game. Telltale left them in there accidentally, but only specifically for episode 2. It contains quite an assortment of weird stuff. For example, there's very thin concept art, if you can call it that, for the main menu. Lee and Kenny look a little different in this one. There's also a lineup of all the characters and their heights. As far as I'm aware, both Larry and Ben are still the tallest Walking Dead game characters ever. One of the weird things included in episode 2's files is the model of the Crawford doctor, who Molly's sister was sleeping with. Except it's an early version. In fact, it's so early, he doesn't even have a torso. Well, he was supposed to, but they left it out. His texture's just reskinned and recoloured from Lee's brother's clothes. He's even wearing B. Everett's lanyard. Also included in this archive are these early duck textures that make him look kinda creepy. Speaking of odd textures, every character in episode 2 has unused eye textures. Yeah, not hard to see why these got cut. One thing that's pretty interesting is that Krista is actually in the files of every episode, even though she isn't used until the next time on in episode 2. Thing is, she actually uses a different model when she finally shows up in episode 3. The earlier model has a thicker hair bun in comparison to episode 3 Krista. She was also supposed to be a bit shorter. As for Omid, he's about the same, except for the fact that he has a darker complexion and his clothes are a bit cleaner. Chuck also has an early model that I like to call Handsome Charles because, well, take a look. I guess this is what he used to look like before his alcoholism. Finally, the last thing I could talk about are the voice lines. There is a gigantic amount of unused voice lines in this game, like way too many to keep track of. Ben originally was voiced by Travis's voice actor in a previous version. Thing is, some of these lines are actually used. If you just stand around during the axe scene, Ben will use some of these older lines mixed in with his new lines.
Oh God, please save him! Oh, crap. Okay. Oh God, he can't die! How would somebody do this?
Shut up!
Screw you, man. Just help him.
Let's go!
According to some other unused voice lines by Ben, the bandits seem to have quite a bit more focus in the story.
Where's the rest of your group?
Oh man, they're all dead. The accident, and then the walkers everywhere, and now those goddamn bandits. You guys been hit by the bandits? They started out just trying to screw with us, but then it got worse. God, I saw them just straight up shoot 2 kids just trying to leave the gym, and then another one in the back when he was running away. And then they kidnapped one of the girls and, damn, I don't like saying it, but I wish they'd just killed her. They let her go, and she wasn't the same afterwards.
This video's for you, Danielle, so when you grow up, you'll know what your mama was like.
Boys from the dairy came by again to make a deal, they call it. It ain't right, but we gotta get food. I just want you to understand, Danielle. I wouldn't be helping them if things was different.
I miss my sweetheart. I miss my house. She comes home from school and needs a snack. Gotta keep my house clean for my baby.
People gonna try and do stuff to her, make you watch. So she wakes up screaming so you can't stop it, and it's bringing in all the dead, and you can't stop her screaming, but you gotta make her stop. Looky here. Jake, you don't know about these folks yet, do you? Because you're too distracted by that stupid farm. Them dumb St. Johns. They don't know what you did. They don't know what you did to my baby. They think you guys, the bandits and me, that we're the same. But we're not. Oh, darling baby, look at you. Look at you. Oh, you need a mama, sweetheart. We won't let them bandits get you, will we? No. Oh, you're so pretty, baby doll. You and Danielle could have been friends. Y'all don't know what's coming. Y'all don't know how to keep her safe. But I know the things they done, baby girl. I know what to say. You better take care of her. You ain't seen what I seen.
Even Paul told me it was justice. We just could live there no more.
I can't protect everybody. I will not let them hurt you. I promise you, baby, as long as I live, you will be safe. I'm not crazy! You did this to me!
Brenda also had a completely different voice actor who did pretty much every line. Yet they went with someone else in the end. I'm not going to play them all, but this is a good enough example.
Now, we don't just sit down at the dinner table in that condition. Go get washed up. There's a bathroom just around the corner. I know y'all are hungry, but just hang on just one more minute. I've got a big surprise coming.
Also, for absolutely no reason, there's an audition for Lee Everett, voiced by a guy called Benji Ross. Have a listen.
This is Benji Ross for Stars. You've been all by yourself through this? I think that might be a little while. You know, I'll take care of you until then. She was fine. She was a member of this camp. She was one of us. God damn it, Lily.
I really can't imagine anyone but Dave Fennoy in Lee's role. It just feels wrong.
That little girl's in my care. We've been through more together than you can imagine. Anyone who tries to get between me and her, anyone, is gonna wind up dead. You hear me?
Ross did actually end up getting a part in 400 Days though.
Getting pretty tired of your complaining ass, man.
I think the best unused voice lines, however, are from the unused dinner scene. You see, after Lee discovers the barn secret and goes to dinner, he becomes very aware that the meat they're eating may be human. In an older version of the story, instead of leaving to go to the bathroom, he would stay at the dinner table and try to stop Clementine from eating her food. I honestly can't even begin to describe how completely ridiculous this entire scene is, so you just have to hear it for yourself.
Let me just clean that off for you, sweetie.
I think the fork is plenty clean now, Lee.
I really think a little pepper will help.
No, thank you. I don't like pepper.
Just a little.
Okay, just a little.
Please, she's a child. They don't like spicy foods.
How about a little salt?
Okay, that's enough. Now it's too salty.
Give it here, I'll eat it.
Dad, the doctor said to watch your sodium.
Yeah, well, that guy's probably dead now, so what does he know?
Let me cut that into smaller bites for you.
You already did good, Lee. Now let the girl eat.
If you want, you can eat your dessert first.
In this house, we save dessert for last. Makes it more special.
Lee!
What happened?
I bumped her glass by accident.
Just a little spill. Nothing to get worked up about. Let's just say we get on with our eating.
Here, before you eat, put this across your lap so you don't get any food on yourself. Is Clementine old enough for food like this?
She's not a baby, Lee. It's fine.
Kenny, can you cut Clementine's food for her?
I think I can handle that. How's that, Clementine?
Good. Thank you.
Lily, would you mind cutting up Clementine's food?
Sure. There you go.
Thank you.
Check to make sure Clementine's food isn't too hot.
Mine's not too hot. I'm sure hers is the same. Relax, Lee. Eat.
Shouldn't you kids be eating your veggies first?
Lee, we haven't eaten real food in ages. Let her eat whatever she wants.
You should go wash your hands.
Unlike you, Lee, Clementine washed up before sitting down at the table.
Why don't you let it cool a little first?
I'll just blow on it.
I think it's still too hot.
No, it isn't.
Lee!
Just think about the scenario for a second. Mark is dying upstairs, and Lee is aware that something fucked up is going on, but instead of just coming out with it, he decides to sabotage the dinner. Someone wrote this, someone else had to read it and give it the okay, then the sound people were brought in and the voice actors were brought in to say these lines. How did it get this far before someone realised how stupid all of this is? Starve for Help is my absolute favourite episode of the entire series. I can't say I'd feel the same way if it was like this in the final game. Let's round things out a bit more seriously. These next voice lines are really interesting to me. Clementine has quite a few unused voice lines throughout the game, but I specifically want to highlight how important the connection she had with her father was. Clementine mentions her dad constantly, but quite a few of these mentions got cut. For example, when you first enter Clementine's house, she was going to say,
Daddy, is that you? Please, Daddy. I'm all alone.
There's also the line in the barn where Lee can swear. Originally, she would mention what her dad would say.
My dad says droppings.
And there's also unused lines for her talking in her sleep in the barn.
I'm glad I'm not in the treehouse tonight. They're out there. Eating. I don't want to go. Sorry, Dad.
Clementine's dad, Ed, was clearly someone that was very important to her. It's the reason she kept onto his hat for so long. I'm guessing they removed these lines to try and bridge the gap a bit more for Lee to get closer to her. I still view them as canon though, since there's still quite a lot of mentions of him throughout the game. And so that about does it for Season 1. I can finally say I've done this highly requested video now. But will I stop being asked about a Season 1 video? Probably not.